Welcome to the video on addition. First, we will review the classic right-to-left method, and we'll take an example like the following. Suppose Tammy has 47 hairbands and finds 28 more in a drawer. Then obviously we are looking to add these numbers. And in the classic version, we will write 47 and line up 28 right under it. The classic method is right to left, where we start with the ones, and we will say 7 plus 8 is 15. The 5 goes in the ones column, the 1 is carried over to the tens column, and then in the tens column we'll say 1 plus 4 plus 2, which is of course really 1 group of 10 plus 4 tens plus 2 tens, and I get my answer of 75. Now, these numbers are still fairly small. If I go into the hundreds with more here or bigger, this becomes very inefficient when I want to eventually convert to mental arithmetic, because in reality I might not have a piece of paper or a calculator or anything with me, and I have to do these calculations basic, but still I have to do them in my head. Now, try and imagine doing this in your head if you had something larger, like 1,347 plus 728, for example. And this isn't that far-fetched, because if you have dollar amounts, incorporating the cents make a fair number of digits. Now, pretend you have to do this in your head. The right-to-left method doesn't really work with me because we read and say numbers from left to right. So if I were to do this in my head, first of all, I have to listen to the whole thing, 1,347 plus 728. Now I have to keep all these numbers in my head, because I have to start from the ones and say, okay, 7 plus 8 is 15. I can't say the 5, but the 5 is part of my answer. I have to remember that I carry the 1, then add the tens. At least I don't have anything to carry, but I still have to remember that 75 is part of my answer. Then I go to the hundreds column. That's 0, carry a 1 and 2, and only when I'm done with everything can I start to say the answer, the number 2075. So the classic method that you might be familiar with, going from right to left, doesn't really help me transition to doing basic arithmetic in my head. So what are my options? Well, luckily we have a very easy option by simply looking left to right. And how I'm going to start is exactly the same. I'm going to start with my 47 plus my 28 example, and it's still lined up. Everything's the same, except now I'm going to go left to right. It's not exactly the same, so what I'm writing down might need a little adjustment, and the adjustment necessary is that I'm going to write some temporary pieces as I'm adding. First, I'm going to add the tens now. 40 plus 20, or 4 tens plus 2 tens, will be 6 tens, which is really 60. But the benefit now is that I am constructing my answer in the same direction as I'm going to say my answer. So I know my answer is going to start potentially with a 60, perhaps a little more, but I'm very close, and in many situations I can start to say 60 something as I'm doing the rest of the calculation. But this written method is sort of the in-between from a very elementary method with base blocks to eventually a mental arithmetic level. I want my method to work with me throughout that development process. Then I'll go to the ones, which 7 plus 8 is 15. So I've done it in 2 pieces, and I now have to add it as 75. This transitions very well to mental arithmetic, because once I've done this tens column, I can start to say 60, and as I'm considering 7 plus 8, realize, oh, that's going to bump my 6 up, and update that, no, 75. As I'm doing these things in the same direction as I'm speaking, as I'm saying my answer, I don't have to remember the tens after I found my 6. I can forget it was a 4 and a 2 and only hold on to the 6 and, of course, the 7 and the 8 that I still have to add. So everything is now working with me to help me transition to doing this efficiently in my head completely. An alternative is to write this perhaps in a less algorithmic way, where I'm just following a recipe and I'm not thinking. But coming from a word problem, the calculation that I would have to do is just written out. There's no necessary layout or anything needed. With the left to right method, if I do it this way, especially when I start with base blocks, I'm just going to lay them out. And understanding what this addition requires, intuitively, it requires that I merge everything, group everything together. I'm still going to do it from left to right and say, okay, this is what I have. And now I'm going to add to that 28 as I'm saying the number. So I'm saying first 20. I'm going to add that 20 up here and update my answer to 67. And now I'm done adding the 20. But I still have an 8 more to count and to add. So I'll update again. I only need to really do 7 plus 8, which updates, bumps the 60 up to a 70 and a 5. This is the same as the left to right method, but it's much more natural and transitions to mental arithmetic even better, in that I hold on to my original quantity, 47, and as I'm hearing the second number, the second quantity, in its pieces, I systematically add them and update my original quantity. I hold 47 in my head, and I hear 20, immediately I update it to 67. Then I hear 8, immediately update it to 75. So I've made the addition easier because it's in smaller little chunks, which really will be single digit addition. And stringing them together, I can say my answer or construct my answer in a much more natural way. You can also watch some video demonstrations, starting at level 1 with base blocks, then to the written version that is more what you might want to do in most grades, and eventually a level where it's completely done as mental arithmetic.